Hello and welcome to this episode of MassCom Topic Talks. I'm Jonathan Weed.
And I'm Sydney Young. Thanks so much for watching.
Our topic talk this month is sports media. I'll be talking with author, freelance sports writer Gary Lloyd and the sports editor of the Alabamian, Jaden Presley.
And later, I'll chat with sports content creator and influencer Twilly Cottingham about her career in sports media. This MassCom Topic Talk starts right now.
Joining me today to talk about sports journalism is Gary Lloyd, who is an author and freelance sports writer, and Jaden Presley. Thank y'all so much for being here today. And she is the campus newspaper editor for the Alabamian, am I correct? Okay, so first question I want to get out is how did both of y'all get interested in mass communication and sports? They're such different things, but they go very well together in some cases. So I want to know y'all's background in that.
Well, I started playing sports when I was 7, and I was an athlete in high school. I also love writing, so just combining both things I've loved for such a long time will make it to where when I have a career, it doesn't feel like work.
Okay, and how about you?
I couldn't have said it any better than Jaden did just then. For me, it started in high school, yearbook staff, and got to write a little bit about basketball. It got me out of class, to be honest. I got to go talk to people, and I just thought that was really cool. I grew up loving sports, loving writing, and just thought what better place to be than combine those two and try to make a career out of it.
So it seems like it came naturally for both of y'all, which is awesome. So Gary, could you tell me a little bit about your specific experience with news writing and your background in it? Like what you've worked with, done a career in, and whatnot?
Yeah, I started at the University of Alabama. I covered all things athletics. I covered Alabama football, softball, basketball, and a lot of football recruiting.
Oh, wow.
Really before all of your rivals and 24/7 Sports and all of these really took off. I wrote for a website that was affiliated with ESPN at the time, and just got a lot of experience doing that. Moved to Mississippi and was a general assignment reporter, so I covered anything and everything. And then since then, about the last decade, I've been a reporter and editor at newspapers and a couple of magazines in the Birmingham area.
So in saying all that, what would you give advice into getting better at sports writing? This is going to be a question for both of y'all. I know a lot of people, may have experience with just, basic news, but how do you make it or go up a level with just sports? Let's go first with you, Gary.
For me, it's pretty simple. It's just write. I mean, even if you don't have a platform, if you don't have a newspaper, if you don't have a website you're writing for, you're practicing. If you can't go to all the games, I make it a point sometimes when I'm trying to get better at the craft. If I'm just watching a game on TV, how would I cover this? What moment in the game stood out to me? How do I tell something different than what you saw watching it from your couch, what people saw in the stands watching that game? How do I romanticize it and really get into those vivid details of the game that's going to make my story stand out? So it's a constant trying to learn and trying to really pay attention to what's happening in the game.
Okay, and what would you say or add to that?
Yeah. I agree a lot with that. Being creative, and especially in sports journalism, is very important because, not many people in general like sports. And when it comes to writing it and watching the game, people are going to prefer to watch the game, you know what I mean? So constantly finding ways to be innovative and creative. I've definitely learned how to be more creative by being in the MassCom program here at UM. So.
Okay. So what would you say, how did sports writing help you get better with your just basic news writing? I'm going to switch it on questions on its head. How did, being at the games, looking at or romanticizing things, just those little aspects help you in a newsroom? We'll go with you first.
Of course. So how sports has helped me with just writing is definitely with feature writing. I love writing about common people, and so learning more about the athlete especially in a feature that's centered around them, can help the audience relate. That's why all of the big shot athletes today, they have a huge following and stuff like that, and that's one of the best ways to get people interested in sports, I would say.
It seems like every single, sports star or something like that, they have to have somewhat of a social media presence or knowledge in social media nowadays. It's not just them on the court or anything like that. And what would you add to that?
I think she stated it perfectly. When I was covering football recruiting, these guys, we would get lists of recruits, their phone numbers, and we could just call them and get stories, talk to them, try to talk to them. And all of these guys, they get tired of it after a while. People are calling them, how fast are you running the 40-yard dash? What schools are you going to visit, over the summer?
Right.
They get those same questions. And, kind of making it about common people, as Jaden said, I would ask them, what's something that you want to be asked? What's something that you want to tell? Everybody can get your 40 time and all of these things anywhere. What do you want to tell? I talked to William Golston. He was a recruit back 12, 13 years ago now, but he ended up playing at Michigan State, and he just won a Super Bowl with the Bucks a year ago. And he talked about growing up in Michigan and his love of reading. And so we did a story about reading and just how that helped him with the X's and O's of the game. So we tied it together that way. Talked to Giovanni Bernard. He was a running back at North Carolina, played with the Cincinnati Bengals for a while. And we talked about his mom. She died of thyroid cancer when he was 9. And we talked about how he writes her initials on his cleats. And before every game, and that's not a question he got. And I think one of his quotes to me was, "I don't talk about this much, but I feel like it's important to get this out there." So I would say really humanizing the game. It's not just the Cardinals won on a 3-run home run. It's the story behind that guy up there.
Right.
That kind of thing.
So in saying all about those such personal stories, how do you juggle that type of news writing with fictional writing, and which one do you prefer? Because you have the news, the real world, and then you have your creative, fictional writing and stuff like that. How do you balance that, and which one do you like better?
I'm much more a nonfiction fan.
Okay.
I've written 2 fictional books, somewhat loosely based on some real life events, but changed the places, changed the names, that kind of thing. But I try to blend that creativity. You don't stretch the truth in nonfiction, in a newspaper, in a book, in a magazine, whatever, but you can describe things really well. One of the best pieces of advice, the best piece of advice I ever got was just 5 simple words. It was show me, don't tell me. And that to me it's incredibly simplistic, but it's also incredibly powerful. When I'm writing, I'm trying to paint a scene. I want you to, if I'm covering a game from the sidelines and you're in the stands, I want to show you something happening down there that you can't see from the stands. Something important to the game, a player's injury, whatever it might be. I want to show that to you and really grip you in and give you that sense of what's really happening down there, and not just tell you that Montevallo won 20-14, you know?
So let's go back to more school-related questions. Jaden, how has the MC program prepared you in the world of sports or sports media? What do you think it has best done for you, or what has been your experience so far?
Well, kind of like I was saying earlier, I just have learned how to be more creative with it. Going to a digital platform, like I've written for Valavision News on the digital platform before, and I've kind of used the skills I've learned with the Alabamian as well.
So going back to those personal stories, do you see, what's been a favorite personal story about you that you've gotten of maybe an athlete, of maybe a fan? Do you have a certain story that you may want to share with us?
I've interviewed a lot of people already so far. So I guess one of my favorite stories I've written is one of the bass fishermen here at It
I
was
know we have a pretty good team here.
yes, they have a huge team, and they're number one in the country right now. And so he and I kind of just sat down in the library, and we just talked for a really long time about. He even taught me more of the rules and stuff about bass fishing because I had no idea.
I wouldn't
I was like,
either.
what rules do you have? And I learned a lot. It's very meticulous, and so he took me through his morning routine, his favorite locations to fish, and all of those things. That's definitely my favorite article that I've
Okay,
written.
that is awesome. I never really even knew they may have had even a routine or something like that.
Yes.
So Gary, what advice would you give to students right now, or to me, or anyone that may want to, or still is in college that wants to get involved? What advice would you have to them?
I think I said it earlier, just write. It's, practice. Whether it be, I wrote for so many websites during college. I didn't get paid for those. Some of them I might have gotten $20 a story. But it was experience. It was portfolio. It was something I could show potential employers that showed, look, I'm going above and beyond here. Other than just writing, I really think relationships is a big thing, and that kind of goes to us talking about those personal stories. I can't just ask those recruits that I talk to. I can't just be like, hey, I'm a stranger. Tell me about your mother. Tell me about, all those things. It took time. It took a couple of, stories here and there, checking in, hey, how's it going up there? Not just badgering them for, are you coming to visit Alabama? Are you going to LSU? What are you doing? Like everyone else. And building that relationship, that's so key in anything. People are going to trust you. It might get you more access. It might get you a better story down the line. If they've got breaking news at some point, they know they can trust you. They can come to you. And then just finally, it's just be a really good reader. Being a good reader makes you a good writer. And we're talking about sports. Not just Wright Thompson at ESPN, not just Sports Illustrated. Read everything. Read Ernest Hemingway. Read Henry David Thoreau.
And what's your newest book that you just wrote? Wasn't it about a rescue dog?
Sunny Days.
Okay, well, I definitely will have to read that then.
Yeah.
And so, Jaden, I have one more last question. It's sort of really specific, but if any student wants to get involved in the Alabamian, what would you say, or what would they need to do?
Well, we have a lot of different areas you can go into that isn't just writing. We have podcasts. We're trying to get a sort of a broadcast set up just to get experience. But just find what you want to pour your time into, because I know it can be hard when you have a job and you have 5 classes. So you can also just freelance, if all that is happening and you just don't have the time to commit every week coming to a meeting. I know Valavision News on the digital platform also takes freelancers. So just don't overwhelm yourself. Find what you want to do. And yeah.
Well, that is awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. It was really an honor to have both of y'all and get y'all's insight into the sports world and the sports media world. And so I'm going to take it back to a quick break. When we come back, Sydney will be here to talk with sports content creator Twilly Cottingham. We'll be right back.
Create your future as a social media manager, filmmaker, journalist, and so much more with a degree in communication studies and mass communication. Visit montevallo.edu/COFA for more information. You belong at Montevallo.
Welcome back to this episode of MassCom Topic Talks. If there's a major sporting event, you can find our next guest capturing all the content or tweeting about the event. Twilly Cottingham is a freelance production coordinator and sports content creator. Twilly, thanks so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am too. Power of technology, we get to have you here.
Yes,
Twilly,
I love it.
Yes. So Twilly, to start, can you tell us how you got interested in mass communication and sports?
Yeah, so actually from like 5th grade to 8th grade, I really wanted to be a civil engineer. I wanted to build interstates. And my older cousin, she was in the mass comm program at our high school. And so, of course, listening to my older cousin, she's like, this is what you need to get into. It's really hard to get into our class. So you should try out and see if you like it. So out of my entire 8th grade class, only maybe like 5 of us got selected. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is pretty cool. In my high school, they took us to competitions, and our mass comm teacher, he really enjoyed teaching us and gave us such a passion, and that he allowed us to figure out what we wanted to do, whether direct or be a producer or be an anchor. And once I saw that passion from him, as well as my cousin, myself, I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So my civil engineer dreams died, and Lisa Salter Jr. was born.
Well, there you go. So what has your career path been so far?
Oh my gosh, my career path has truly been a roller coaster. When I was like in high school and college, I wanted nothing but to be on ESPN. ESPN, 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 that's all I wanted. And I got the opportunity to intern with ESPN and work on the production side. And I was like, wow, like this is really cool. And I got to enjoy not having to wear makeup at work and just, help behind the scenes and, have to worry about crazy fans and different things like that. But with that avenue, it led me to like different opportunities to work as a freelancer. I was able to work with Fox Sports, Showtime Sports, even Animal Planet. They did a sports show. I helped with that. And I learned how to not get caught up in just like the label or the company and just really expand of what I want to do because sports world is actually really huge and it's so much to navigate and show. So my path, girl, has been up, down, left, right, rainy, sunny, but I wouldn't change it for a thing.
Great. So, ESPN, Fox Sports, they all cover, a variety of sports. So, what sports do you specifically create content for?
Anything actually. If the pandemic didn't happen, I was going to China for the Olympics, and that happened, so I couldn't do that. But I've been able to cover football, soccer, water polo, fox hunting, volleyball, basketball, anything with a sport and it has a TV outlet to it, I have covered it. And like I said, I love all sports, including cheerleading. Yes, cheerleading is a sport.
Yes, it is. It very much is. Hey, you're talking to a dancer here, so it is a sport.
Exactly.
So, how do you make your content, how do you make it and how do you make it profitable? And also, where can people find your content?
Yeah, so actually, I make my content for me. As a content creator, we get caught up in numbers and brand deals and reach and subscribers and things like that. And one of my brand managers actually told me, she was like, create content that you want to see. And so I'm a big sports history nerd. So I love 30 for 30 or any type of sports documentary. So I try to shoot that for my content as well as if you're a first time fan coming somewhere. So like if you come with me to Auburn, I'm going to show you Toomer's Corner. I'm going to show you Eagles Landing. I'm going to show you the traditions and different things like that. And so you can definitely see all of that on my YouTube channel, which is Take Off Twilly, as well as follow me on Instagram. It is Twilly Shannon. And you just definitely see so much behind the scenes stuff that you wouldn't normally see.
Great. So obviously you show more of the behind the scenes. So to bounce off that, what are specific skills for sports content that vloggers and content creators need?
You just have to show what you love and what you will want the world to see and learn about. Basically, being a content creator is teaching someone a different world that they don't normally see every day. My girlfriends don't know a thing about sports at all, but they always come to me with their sports questions and they said they love it because I explain it in a way that a girl can understand it. And so if you enjoy playing golf, and you want other people to be like, well, why do you like golf so much? Show that. Like I said, everyone wants to see everything from everywhere, whether you're being a director or being the lighting specialist or the graphic designer. Like they want to see it all. So just show it and don't try to fall into the trends like TikTok, for example. You don't have to be a dancer. Just go to the game and be like, hey, this is what I saw and this is what I did. So just all about you, whatever story you want to tell.
So you mentioned, your girlfriends come to you for sports advice and they like it because you explain it to them in a way they can understand. So obviously the sports is dominated by men, the sport industry. How did you break through that barrier, as a woman?
Actually, just camaraderie with my sisters who also work in sports, and we're a close, tight knit sisterhood, and we root for each other wholeheartedly. Like one of my girlfriends just got a job with the WNBA, and I'm just so excited for her, as well as my other friend got a job with Bally Sports. And whenever we have a problem or we see a job opportunity, we literally reach out to each other and be like, "Hey, do you need help?" Or I know someone there. And like I said, you may not have a good day at work, being the only female of that day, but I know I can reach out to my fellow sisters and they'll have my back and they'll understand where I'm coming from. So yeah, so I mean, it's a lot more than what we had, well, what I had in high school. I'm not going to tell you when I graduated, but now like there's just so many different women out there that you can like collab with and be a a shoulder to cry on and just help make that path even better so you won't have to be the first woman or the only woman and just making it easier for the next generation.
All right, thank you. And so what are some of the challenges you faced as a, woman of color in this industry, and what advice would you give to other women?
Yeah, being a woman of color in sports is it's kind of entertaining because usually you only see one black female reporter or one Asian reporter, and you're just like, I know there's more than just one of each. Like there has to be a variety of us. And luckily, like I said, I've met so many different women, especially women of color. Like I said, we're able to band together. But I also joined organizations such as WISE, Women in Sports and Entertainment. So you always have each other to help have your back, as well as National Association of Black Journalists. And with those two organizations, I don't feel alone. And it's just very helpful. And like I said, they encourage you and laugh at you, cry with you. And they even, you have a moment where a guy's like, well, what did, Sammy Sosa hit in 1997? I don't know. In 97, I was watching Disney Channel. But I do know Sammy Sosa is a great baseball player, and I can tell you his story and different things like that. So being a woman of color, you always going to have that armor, or just a woman in general, men are going to be like, well, you need to know this, that, you need to know that. I'm like, well, you don't have to. But I do know the history of why the Cubs are here, or why the White Sox are here, or why they built this stadium right here. So it's been difficult, but like I said, I have sisters to help me along the way.
Great. And final question, what advice would you give to current students that are wanting to go into sports media?
You live in the best time to be a content creator. Just practice every day. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to get picked up by Bleacher Report or Overtime Sports. Create your content. You have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, whatever you want to do. Like I said, there was a girl, she literally was making Zoom calls, pretending to be NFL coaches, and now she's a lead sports content creator invited to all events. I myself have worked so many amazing events just from creating content. And like I said, don't get caught up in the brand, don't get caught up in the numbers. Just make stuff that is amazing for you. And like I said, the companies will come, the brands will come, but just make sure it's quality content as well. And just be you. Don't try to be Lisa Salter. Don't try to be Erin Andrews. Don't try to be Kirk Herbstreit. Be you, and I promise you, the possibilities are endless. I hate to sound like a cliche, but it really is.
All right, well, Twilly, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm truly honored, and hopefully y'all invite me back.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this episode of MassCom Topic Talks. Thanks again to all of today's guests for sharing their insights about sports media. If you missed any of our Topic Talks this year, you can watch them on the Montevallo 4U channel on YouTube. And while you're there, be sure to hit subscribe to see the latest projects for MassCom students. And if you're interested in learning more about UM's Mass Communication program, visit montevallo.edu/MC. Thanks for watching and have a great day.